Hi, I'm Juliet and I head up research and data analytics at Squadify. I'm going to take you through the calculations that underpin the Squadify report. Let's take a look.
Okay, so I'm going to talk through the calculations and the technical details that underpin Squadify. So let's start here on the Insights summary page. This is the landing page for Squadify report, and it gives you the summary results of your team's report. You'll see at the top left here, your squad is, in this case, below average for Squadify. So how do we calculate the averages? Well, at a squad level, the squad average is calculated taking the average scores across all team members and across all 37 questions. So that's how you get the average score for the squad. For the Squadify population, we do the same thing and we average across teams. So each team's average score is then averaged across all of those teams to get the Squadify population average. And we create a distribution so that then to determine where your squad sits, whether it's above, at, or below average, if you're in the top 40%, you're above average. If you're in the bottom 40%, you're below average. And if you're in the middle 20%, then you're considered to be at average. So average isn't a single point, it's a band of 20%, 10% above and below that average number. This is a live calculation, so this average will change over time as new teams join the Squadify population, but we will never allow an enterprise to account for more than 20% of the total teams. So if we have an enterprise client with a lot of teams, they won't be allowed to skew that, so they can't ever be more than 20% of the total number of teams. Okay, I'm going to come back to the squad challenges on this page in a moment once I have explained some other items on other tabs. Just to continue with the averages, the 3 Cs and the squad dynamics, you'll see they have the average ring. So this ring here on the outside shows the population average so that you can compare as a squad how you do, in this case 4.1 for presence, compared with the Squadify average of 3.9. And again, the averages for clarity, climate and competence for your team are calculated by averaging the scores across all team members for the questions that are included in clarity. So those questions here. So if you average all of the purple bars here, you'll get the 4.1 average for presence, and the same for climate and competence. And the same exactly happens for the squad dynamics, these 5 measures here. All right. In the detailed report, we have here 4 charts, the highs and lows. So that is the questions that scored highest and lowest for presence by your team. And these are, well, in the highs, they're all the same score, but in the lows, there are different scores, and some of those are the same. So for example, these 4 are all the same score. And so we have a secondary sorting, which is on importance. So for those items that are scoring the same for presence, we secondarily sort them by their importance score assigned by your team. When we look at gap and range, so the gap is the gap between importance and presence, again, obviously sorted by the greatest gap to the smallest, and again, secondarily sorted by the importance score for each question, and the range the same. So primarily by range, and then for these items that are the same, secondarily sorted for importance. Let's take a deep dive into range. So what does this mean? Range is a measure of the variance of the scores among the team members. It's calculated using the equivalent of var.p in Excel. So that is a measure of variance that is the sum of the squared means. So it takes each participant's score, compares it to the mean of the team, and then sums that together to give you the range. And what this is a measure of how much the team members agree or disagree in their ratings of scores across different questions. So when we go to the Insights report, and you'll see the squad challenges, the way that these challenges have been determined uses an algorithm that looks at these 3 areas in the detailed report that are areas of weakness. That is your lows, so the items that scored lowest for you as a squad, the gaps, so that's the greatest gap between importance and presence, so that's an area that your team considers needs to be done better, and range, because the range indicates that across your team there is a lack of agreement around that question. And so that has been higher range has been associated with lower performance. So the more aligned you can become as a team in your view of each of these questions, the higher your performance is likely to be. So these three charts provide up to 18 items that are considered to be the areas that you need to focus on. Obviously, there'll be some overlaps, so you'll see some of these questions coming up in multiple charts. So what we do in the squad challenges, is we've built an algorithm that combines those three charts and picks out those that are the biggest challenge for the team. And very simply, what we do is we start looking for questions that come up in all three of those charts, and those get to the top of the list. Then we look at questions that come up in 2 out of 3 of those lists, and then we look at questions that come up in just 1 of those lists, and then prioritize at the moment by range, so that promotes that to the highest on this list of squad challenges. So this algorithm is constantly being refined and improved so that we can get closer and closer to a consultant's view of the report outcomes.
I hope that was useful. If you've got any questions, please contact me at thesquad@squadify.net. Thanks for watching.